The public isn't aware of this. The media isn't aware of this. And I guarantee you Congress isn't aware of this. But David Grusch is, without a doubt, linked to Skinwalker Ranch ghost hunters.
Yeah.
Jay Stratton dates back to 2007 at least. When it comes to interest in Skinwalker Ranch, Stratton, who was Grusch's boss at the UAP task force, claims that he's haunted by ghosts and werewolves and believes in this kind of weird multi-dimensional pseudo-psychic kind of reality to this phenomena. Grusch is linked to Eric Davis, who just 3 years ago, almost word for word, claimed the exact same thing that Grusch is claiming to the New York Times. You could go read the New York Times right now. Eric Davis says off-world vehicles not from this earth, the government's retrieving the crashes, all this stuff. Eric Davis is a longtime Skinwalker Ranch ghost hunter, claims ghosts spoke to him telepathically. It's still, I don't think Congress even knows. I don't think they know that Skinwalker ghost hunters were in charge of the Pentagon's UAP task force for years. I don't think they realize this. I don't think they even know about this yet.
No, I don't. I agree. And it's probably something the Pentagon is a little bit embarrassed about. So
yeah,
I'm sure if you ask Kirkpatrick about it, he'll roll his eyes because it's kind of the bane of his existence that he's got this kind of legacy of poor investigation that went before him.
right.
But yeah, it's very much a real thing, and it continues to be with Travis Taylor and Stratton working on Skinwalker Ranch now, which is just so bizarre.
And there's a photo of Grusch at a UFO conference from last year. He's sitting at a table with George Knapp, with Jay Stratton, with Travis Taylor. Those three other guys that I mentioned, deeply involved with Skinwalker Ranch, deeply involved with dubious claims of just the craziest stuff ever, have never presented any evidence, but none of this context was brought up, looked into, thought of as relevant, perhaps. I mean, we heard Jay Stratton's name, but almost just kind of like a throwaway today. Why wasn't Jay Stratton there? He was in charge of the UAP task force. He was the guy asking David Grusch to go do these things. He was the boss. Why? I mean, he's retired. He's appearing on History Channel shows. Just call him to Washington, D.C. Were you surprised to not see people like Jay Stratton, Lou Elizondo there?
I mean, Jay Stratton would have been one of my number one picks to be there because he was the head of the UAP task force. He was for a while Grusch's boss. He had Title 50 and Title 10 clearance, which meant he could ask anybody anything and make them tell him things. He would have been able to get the exact same information and probably more information because he was more senior than Grusch. And so he's someone who probably knows about these claims and about where the hangars are that have these craft in allegedly. But yeah, he wasn't called, and it's a bit strange. I mean, why is that? I mean, you bring up Skinwalker Ranch. He appears on the Skinwalker Ranch TV show now. It's this very weird thing because as you know, like going back to the 90s. Skinwalker Ranch is kind of the root of a lot of what we're seeing right now. Skinwalker Ranch was this haunted ranch that inspired the creation of the ORSAP program by Harry Reid back then. And it's true that the foundation of ORSAP is actually Skinwalker Ranch and ghosts and things like that.
Right.
And that reverberates to this day.
Right. And it's such... when you have the context, when you're informed, if the public had the context of here's what the Skinwalker Ranch investigators like Stratton, like Davis believe in, non-human intelligence, multi-dimensional beings traveling in between dimensions, spacecraft, but not just that, but UFOs that are linked to ghosts and that they're coming out of portals and all of these things. And then when you listen to what Grusch is claiming and that he's heard this from certain people, and that that some of these certain people are Skinwalker people, all of that begins to click. Oh, okay, I kind of see what's happening here. But the fact that that's not looked into, brought up, or asked about at all at this point is pretty silly. And perhaps you have a point that it just sounds so ridiculous that it's outright denied.
I think it's difficult for people to bring up to their colleagues in Congress because you start talking to somebody about Skinwalker Ranch and how these people believed in ghosts, they're going to look at you kind of weird. So it's almost like the topic has immunized itself against scrutiny by being too ridiculous to be scrutinized.